Hello lovely lot, my name is Max and welcome back to my YouTube channel and some more tactics and transfers for Nottingham Forest. We are back today to talk about what is becoming quite a heavily rumoured move for former Manchester United attacking midfielder Jesse Lingard, the 29-year-old, very heavily linked to the club over the course of the last 12 hours, with West Ham's move apparently stalling, Forest are wanting to swoop in there and get the deal done in the next few days. And the England international would add some much needed experience, particularly at number 10 for Forest. And in today's video, we will be discussing his career to date, how he's fitted in at Manchester United over the last few years, and how potentially he could be used by Steve Cooper for Forest in the Premier League. So before we do that, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, especially if you are new around these parts, ringing that notification bell so you don't miss a single tactics and transfers player profile video or the return of the match previews in the next few weeks. With that being said, let's start talking about Jesse Lingard and why I think he would be a fantastic fit for Nottingham Forest. Jesse Lingard was born in Warrington in Cheshire and would join the Manchester United Academy at the turn of the millennium, spending the best part of a decade learning his craft in what is arguably one of the best academy systems in England. And the highlight of this period would be an FA Youth Cup win in a team that also contained Paul Pogba, with Alex Ferguson looking to get them both tied down to long-term professional deals, which Lingard would do, spending the next few seasons out on loan with championship sides to gain greater first-team experience. He would spend the next 3 years between 2012 and 2015 on loan with 4 different championship sides: Leicester City, Birmingham, Derby County and Brighton and Hove Albion, gaining around 50 first-team matches and scoring about 15 goals in the process, a very decent return for your first stretch of senior football. And he would eventually break into the first team during the latter stages of Louis van Gaal's reign as Manchester United manager, making 40 appearances during the 2015-16 season and scoring 6 goals, including the winner in the FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. And as Jose Mourinho would replace the Dutchman as the manager, he would be used in much more of an important role in the side, being favoured over the likes of Juan Mata at that number 10 position due to his work rate and his tactical flexibility. And between 2016 and 2020, he would make around 166 appearances for Manchester United, as Mourinho would eventually depart and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would come into the club, and his minutes would eventually diminish, especially with the arrival of Bruno Fernandes in that number 10 position. And that's really been the story of the last couple of seasons, very much one of frustration, not fancied by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He would spend the second half of 2 seasons ago with West Ham, scoring 9 goals in 16 league appearances, but it didn't really force him back into the Manchester United career, and he would eventually leave on a free at the end of last season. Stylistically, one of Lingard's greatest assets is that work rate. He regularly ranks top 3 in the Manchester United squad for pressures per 90 minutes and always puts up good defensive numbers as well. Across his entire Premier League career, he's put up around 2 tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes. Very good for someone playing as a number 10 or in wider positions. But don't let those defensive numbers fool you. Attacking wise, he's always put up very solid numbers, scoring 29 goals and assisting 14 in his Premier League career, and taking around 2 shots and averaging 1.5 key passes over the course of his Manchester United career. And this just dovetails really nicely alongside 0.4 expected goals and assists per 90 minutes over the course of his 150 Premier League appearances. So stylistically, Lingard's always been someone with solid attacking numbers and who does a lot of running off the ball, helping the team set the trend with their pressing. So let's talk a bit more about this team in a bit more detail and how he's been used by Manchester United over the course of the last few seasons. So this is how Manchester United have predominantly lined up over the last few seasons. Despite the high managerial turnover, it has very much looked like a 4-2-3-1 over the course of the last few seasons, with the attacking midfielders or wide midfielders coming very tight to play alongside the striker, congest the central areas, and the real main width in this side coming up and down the left-hand side with those aggressive runs that Luke Shaw likes to make either on the overlap or on the underlap. Now, it's not necessarily been the most functional of systems, but they've tried to be a transitional side looking to hit teams on the counter-attack. They will sit back and look to compress the pitch as much as possible, making it very hard for teams to play centrally through them, as we've seen with quite a lot of teams in recent years, and instead will force teams to play around them and use the wide areas, where they'll then try to turn the ball over in these sorts of areas of the pitch, in the midfield third and in the defensive third, and look aggressively and quickly to counter-attack. Although sometimes when when they don't have those insightful attackers in the team like a Bruno Fernandes or a Marcus Rashford, they can look slightly pedestrian on the counter-attack. And just lastly on that defensive shape, it looks something like a 4-4-2 out of possession with Lingard pressing up into that front line, offering extra pressing coverage, especially when you're playing against two centre-backs who can kind of occupy one each. Makes it very hard for teams to play through the central areas, and they'll also step up to create a high line, so it's a very vertically compressed team as well as narrowly compressed. Despite the lack of pace they have in the back line, it does sometimes work, and you can sort of see how they try and do that. And in terms of Jesse Lingard, he's predominantly played either this attacking midfield role or wide left or wide right, and has even spent time playing as sort of a support striker in a front two system, particularly under Jose Mourinho, where again that work rate was very much favoured, and his ability really is to help bring the ball forward on the counter-attack, being one of the better ball carriers in that Manchester United squad over that period. Again, we're talking about this transitional system. He'll receive the ball from a Fred or a McTominay and really look to sort of drive the team upfield and look into the wide areas to help feed the play forward and continue the transition. His movement and his positioning are also fantastic. He's very good at picking up areas in and around the 18-yard box, just sort of able to pick up little passes, 1-2s, that kind of stuff. So we've got the ball fizzed into him here. His movement's also very good in and around the box in the sense of making these little 1-2 runs, say interchanging with the likes of Sancho or Rashford or Martial leading that line. His 1-2 ability, sort of making those little inside runs, is also very good. Tactically, stylistically and statistically, Lingard is very similar to Philip Zinckernagel in the sense that they're both diminutive attackers looking to come in from that left-hand side into central areas where they can affect play, and defensively offer a huge amount in terms of pressing and also ball recovery, which is something that number 10 position for us really needs next season. A really hard-working attacking midfielder, and it really does seem to make sense why Lingard would be targeted by Forest. He's Premier League proven, consistent, pretty much all round his stats, performing more or less around his XG, and with the work rate and drive to really help set the tempo for this team, especially when we press out of possession. Of course, there are issues with this deal. He is closing in on 30 years old, but as a short-term option, I can't really think of too many better options, especially ones with that Premier League experience, which is very important for a newly promoted team. My only other issue is really the wages. Even though we would be arriving on a free transfer, you would imagine that the current wage structure we have in place at the moment would have to have some kind of limitations and maybe some changes made to it in order to accommodate Lingard and the wages you'd imagine. I personally think it'll probably be something like a 2 or 3 year deal in which we'll probably see him on a decent amount of money, but maybe there'll be some kind of package in place where it can be staggered over the course of a few seasons or something like that, because he will probably become the top earner at the club should he join. But personally, I think that experience playing number 10 for England and in the Champions League is invaluable, and it will offer a real quality in the final third for Nottingham Forest. So personally, I think it would be a pretty good piece of business. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I have made my case. Do you think that he would be a good signing, or perhaps one we should avoid and let West Ham snap up? Answers, as always, in the comment section below. And whilst you're down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of these player profile videos, and I will catch you later.